Everybody, thank you very much for all turning up tonight. Appreciate you all coming back to the Pigsty. Tonight we've been very lucky. We have Mike Curry. Is it Mike or Michael? Which would you prefer?
Mike is fine.
Mike. We have Mike Curry with us tonight. Recently I've noticed him jumping into the community. I've seen him on Richard's channel. We all know Richard. We've also seen him on Justin's channel, the Empathic Atheist that we got to meet a couple of weeks ago. So Mike, if you just want to give everyone a shout, let them all know who you are.
That's a good question. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, my name is Mike Carey. I work with Xavier Hayes and John Hoskins on a project called The One Good Reason. Kind of in our spare time, just kind of focused on epistemology, figuring out how you're arriving to your conclusions on any given topic. So I try to make this as clear as possible, is that we're not 100% solely focused on religion or even atheism, etc. That might be our standpoint on it, but we touch on a vast array of different topics, whether it's love or consciousness, friends and enemies even, and how that goes about, just basically a lot of different topics. And we try to talk to people and kind of get an idea of why they think the way that they do about that topic. And kind of see if they have a good reason to hold that belief or hold that thought and hold that idea. And a lot of the times we'll have sometimes short discussions, long form discussions, and eventually the goal, if we're doing the formula correctly, is that they, out of their own mouths, will say that what they're saying maybe doesn't have a good justification for it, and it causes them to analyze their own train of thought and their own logic process. So that's basically what we want. So again, we're not out here trying to get people to throw their Bibles in the garbage, for example, or something like this. I mean, if that's what they decided to do as a result of looking at their own cognitive biases and what logical fallacy traps they're prone to fall into, then more power to them. But that's basically what we want, is just kind of this self-analysis. But that's what our project is. We've been running strong now for about 3 years. If you look at us on facebook.com/The One Good Reason, I'm sure that's going to be showed out there in the chat or even in the description. There's two, I guess you can call them debates. They were supposed to be discussions that turned into debates. Mm-hmm. On the page, one with a Reformed Calvinist apologist by the name of Jesse Palm, whose father is also a preacher, or was, and another one with, I'm sure with Pastor Taylor James. So pop your corn and strap in for those.
Did he click his pen the whole way through it?
No, there was no pen. The only thing that was clicking, I think, was the logic. But
yeah, which you must be hated by an awful lot of people. Then, when it comes to philosophy and things like that, and you start poking at people, you do find there's an awful lot of pushback from it. People are fucking comfortable where they are, especially when they want to come into these sort of conversations and learn a wee bit more. And then the more that they learn, the more that they realize, shit, I've been ignoring this. I've compartmentalized that, oh shit, and then they have to push against their own beliefs and where they, what they actually believe and where they come from.
Yeah, one of the topics that we get, or I'll speak for myself, I always do that. One of the topics that I've gotten a lot of pushback for is the topic of love. And, it's bad enough, it's like, oh, this guy's an atheist, but then even among, let's say, other atheists, and I understand there's no codified behavioral guideline to be an atheist,
yes.
But even within my own, group, we'll say, I'll get some of that pushback about my view on love, and which is just basically, I say that love is intermittent. When it comes to the demonstration portion of it, you can claim that you love someone that can reciprocate, but to actually demonstrate that, you would have to write something down, or whatever you're defining as affection or caring or etc. You have to actually do something, and you're not going to be able to do this 24/7. You're not going to be hugging your girlfriend or wife while she's taking a dump or driving to work or things like this. There are going to be these gaps between those periods, and that's why you miss someone, because you want another experience. That's why you can't just be satisfied with that first experience and then just have that love for the whole rest of your life and be fine. You want more of that joy that they bring, etc. So you look forward to the next time. So what they will ask me is, okay, well, if the love is intermittent and there are these gaps, you would say, like, if there's two cars parked, right, there's a gap on either side of the car, right? So there's more gaps than there are actual instances of love. What are we doing in those gaps? And I would say, well, there's just an absence of love. You wouldn't call it hate. I think that's what the misconception was, is that I'm saying that you're not loving this person, you're not loving your parents when you're not at their house, immediately, or talking to them on the phone. But that's the idea
lack of
is,
something is not a negation of something, or
exactly.
Yeah.
And I would think, I don't want to common sense fallacy here, but or appeal to common sense, but I'm prone to think that the atheist, should be able to get on board with that and understand that it's just a lack of love or a lack of affection in this moment. Xavier Hayes, who I work with, he put it in a good context where he said, yeah, it's like you're running. It's like when you see someone doing it, you can recognize that as, okay, man, that is love. You can see them running. And then I jumped in and said, well, yeah, and you're going to take breaks. You're not going to run all the time. And it's a little silly for someone to say, are you running right now? And they look, and you say yes, and they look at you and you're standing still.
Yeah.
So if you're going to say, if you're going to define love as showing affection, like I said, or any of these other physical things, it's not enough to just claim it, because if you're going to say they're one and the same, if I just say I love it, or I feel that I love someone, we'll say, there's no way to differentiate between not loving that person altogether and abstaining from doing any of the things that you would expect as a result of love. But yeah, so I've gotten a lot of pushback about that. I kind of delayed that talk for about 2 years, actually, so I wouldn't lose.
Well, delaying that delaying that means that you know yourself that you were going to get pushback. You knew it wasn't going to be popular.
Yeah.
But
Are you hearing my notifications here?
No, everything seems fine, man. Everything's good.
Okay, cool. A lot of notifications.
Just as you were talking that, it just made me think of the episode of Next Generation with Data, whenever he tried to date someone, and the statement that he made as she was leaving, that he'd got used to the interactions. There was dedicated time that he had dedicated in his mind per day that was allotted to her, and that's how he defined love, was that she was shifted up the priorities. There was more time dedicated to her. Also, at the same time, she asked him when they were kissing and stuff, what were you just thinking? Oh, I was also doing this, and I was also doing this, and I was thinking about this at the same time. It doesn't negate what he was trying to, purvey to her.
Right.
It's just at the same time, you don't... I get what you say. I understand what you say. At the same time, I may disagree with
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I disagree with you, but...
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, and as long as we could have civil dissent, that's totally fine. It's just, you get the death threats, or they try to equate that with, so you don't understand love, which is why you're an atheist, and you hate.
A man of your age, I would understand. I would assume, that you've been in a relationship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, boom. There you go. See, yeah. Your wife doesn't shout at you and say you don't love me.
Oh, we've had the talk. So it's I don't have access to her thoughts 24/7. There might be times where she fucking hates me. I'm just doing something annoying or stupid, or she's not even thinking about me. And when she's really trying to get that turd out,
Yeah.
I'm not.
No, I understand.
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used the phrase and things like that there, whenever you wind them up, love is the ability to truly let the small things slide.
Okay. You could look at it like love is caring about something, or let's say someone, more than you care about yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so there's again, my whole thing is, you can say it, and then to demonstrate that is the case, you have to actually physically do something.
Yeah, but it is a very hard thing. There's people that goes down the chemical route. It's just the same as eating large amounts of chocolate for women and this, that, and the other. But it's a connection at the end of the day. It is a connection, and you will always feel it more so when the person is right beside you. Like, you will miss the person when they are away, and not to say that you'll miss them more than you love them. You miss them because you love them. But I can understand that the missing is the predominant emotion that you're feeling right there and then, not the actual love for the person. It is a cause of it more so than the actual reasoning of it.
You're a smart guy. You're a very smart guy. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, no, I get by, but yeah. Well, seeing as this sort of like, we always sort of, and with your philosophy and stuff, man, we bounce back and forth in the Christians, and, atheism and stuff like that. Were you ever a Christian? Do you have a, not to steal the 604's job, but do you have a leaving story, or, you know, were you raised Christian?
Oh, wow. That's so short answer is no. I was never, I never believed in a deity or any type of gods ever, even in my youth, try as they might. And again, I don't want to, you know, like you said, I don't want to steal Neil's thunder here, but that's the short version of that. There was I'll give you a little bit of sugar here. There was very intense, a very intense effort, you know, worthy maybe of a Lifetime movie. Okay. But it never penetrated. It never penetrated. It never withstood the inquiry. So that's a good way to sum it up. But you know, as I've been doing more of these kind of interviews, I've been kind of opening up about, you know, there was something I wholeheartedly believed in that I was just completely credulous and gullible to Santa Claus.
Yes.
And you know, I don't know if you probably maybe heard that story already, but just for any of your viewers that haven't, you know, I think I was about 8 or 9 by the time that I, you know, discovered that this was this was not purporting with reality. And you know, I wanted to move to the North Pole. I wanted to work there and feed the deer, you know, the reindeer and all these type of things. And I was looking forward to this. When I get older, this is what I'm going to do. And you know, and I had all the things that you would expect, you know, at the fireplace, and the you know, the parent that dresses up and goes on the roof and makes the noise and all these type of things. And
well, they really went for it though. Well, then it makes sense, you know, if they did go so far into it, then, you know, you see evidence, you see proof of it. Where with the God, it was just someone screaming a book at you. There was no man coming down the chimney to physically leave something. There was no tippy toes on the roof that you could hear. There was no physicality to it.
100%, man. And you know, Justin Downing, the empathetic atheist, I seem to mention him all the time now that I'm doing these, but he had a great point that made me feel a little bit better about myself being tricked for so long. Is that he basically said, yeah, there's nobody grabbing you by the shoulders and saying, hey, every Friday we're going to meet up and we're going to chant, you know, North Pole, December 25th, presents are coming, you know, and constantly reinforcing this. You know, there's no establishment set up to do this. But yeah, I mean, that's the best that I can relate to. And that's no knock at, you know, theist, but that's the best that I can relate to, because I truly was, I mean, you could probably say traumatically impacted. You know, I went through a little depression phase where, you know, you might have, I don't know if you ever celebrated Christmas or anything, but
well, we do it here, and recently I have a wee girl that just turned 3, and this Christmas she was starting to get really into it, and she's got cousins that are, you know, 6 and 7, and they still believe. So the whole, as you say, the reinforcement is at that stage when you're coming up to Christmas. There is that person every day mentioning it to you. There is your cousins and your friends all doing the same thing. And at the time with the partner, it was a very big thing, because I really didn't, you know, I don't like lying to kids, you know, and I would be one if the wee girl does wrong, obviously she'll be disciplined, but you explain why she has been disciplined. You explain to them, you talk to them, and I'm very forward with that. I don't hide anything, and it was a big thing in our house, and we did eventually come to it that we will go with the Santa thing. We'll run with it. And my reasoning at the end of it was, she is... her mother's a Catholic. It is a Catholic family. We're over here in Ireland, so, you know, there's religion about quite predominantly when she's growing up and stuff. And I can see in my mind the idea, if she can see that Santa's fake, hopefully, then it can then transfer across. You know, where obviously at the end of the day, you know, you're not going to fucking shout and scream over Santa and make a big deal out of it. And at the end of the day, every kid's gonna, it's something you're gonna have to do. So there was going to be a given. But that's the reasoning and the conclusion that I came to, that in the end it should be all right, because when she gets to that stage that she's starting to find herself 7, 8, 9, you know, and actually become, you know, a kiddie version of herself, find her own personality, then she can see the wrong, the problems with Santa, and then hopefully see the wrong and the problems with other things that aren't imaginary. And we can use that as an example. Look, you know the way Santa was, now this is that, and yeah, hopefully.
Right. There should be some carryover. I totally agree with you. Like, I have a 4-year-old about to turn 5 next this coming July. And, we had the conversation, and, I didn't want to bring my bias maybe to it. But I did, we ended up agreeing that, it's a good educational tool. What I'm not going to do, though, is the moment that there's one logical question asked, I'm not going to pile on an additional lie. What I'll say is, good job. That you're right. That doesn't make sense. You figured it out. Because, in my parents' defense, it probably was kind of like a Band-Aid pull. It was like, when do you let the air out of this thing? And, I was so into it. I was so excited and writing the letters and, going to sit on the lap and then at the mall and these type of things. And it's like, when do you, because it's like, you're hoping, maybe as a parent, you're hoping that, Joey at school is going to do this, but it's like, I was joking with, I forget who I was talking to, but it was like, yeah, you don't want to turn into the 40-year-old virgin version of this, you never figured this out,
Yeah.
And yeah, so we agreed that we're going to go ahead and do it. As soon as there's a question that's like, hey, wait a minute, I thought this was supposed to be this, and this is, we're going to drop it right there and just be like, okay, yeah.
From my personal experience, finding out there was no Santa was in and around 4 or 5. My front door was at the bottom of the stairs. My bedroom was at the very top of the stairs, and there was obviously noise. And being a 4 and 5-year-old, you're like, Santa's here, and whenever Santa, all excited. And I run to the top of the stairs to hear what the noise is, and my man and dad's coming through the front door with a fucking present. And it's like, where's Santa? He was tired. He's been going all night. We're giving him a wee hand, and go back to bed. And obviously within the next year, you sort of figure it out. And
yeah, I kind of did the same thing, but much older. But I I snuck out basically to where the noise was coming from and flipped the lights on, and just had these two faces looking at me, crouched down, trying to put this stuff under the tree, and it was just. I remember my dad yelling, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
And it was
any other name, yeah.
Yeah. So that was.
But I would be a firm believer of that. That is, I would always be. I'd say, like, I have the wee girl, and I spent maybe a month or so. Now we go swimming. We would obviously go swimming quite regularly and stuff. And we take her, and there's like a river section of the swimming pool that goes round and round. You could, if you jumped up, the current will take you round with it. There's things and waterfalls and all. It's enjoyable, and she loves going in. And I would get the coffee table and spent about a month when she was maybe about 1.5, 2, teaching her to have the confidence to come to the edge of the table and jump off. Daddy's going to catch you. Daddy's going to catch you. Not a bother. So we do this. We build up her confidence. She gets to the point where she's, when you're sort of half jumping, she's grand. She's jumping. So I take her to the pool, put her at the edge of the pool. Will she jump in? Not for love nor money will she jump to the fucking pool. Gets all scared and all the rest of it. And then she goes to run away, and I'm afraid of her slipping and all. It's like, right, I'm up. I get her, take her into the pool. And I turned around her and I went sort of down, not the deep end, but deep enough, like maybe up past my waist. And I turned her and I goes, do you want to fly, honey? And she goes, yeah, let's fly. And I fucked her up in the air and I took 2 steps back. And she went straight into the water. She went straight down. Now, nothing obviously wrong with her. She's grand. She came up. She wasn't too pleased with me. And the partner at the time gave me the worst dirty look possible. But the next week we went, she was going under the waterfalls. She was, I'm holding her by the belly. She now has the confidence to go under the water. She's trying to swim. And from that, ripping the Band-Aid off, as you would put it, I think she's a better swimmer and more confident in the water because of it. Because she was afraid before that. And once you realize that this is the worst thing that can happen, it is like a weight lifted off your shoulder. And that can apply to everything, especially with adults and stuff as well. Adults worry too much about, oh fuck, will I say this thing? Or oh shit, will I say that thing? They'll think this and they'll think that. But you can't be in the person's mind. If you talk to the person, tell them they're an asshole, tell them this, get it out in the open. You can discuss things and you can find out what the other person thinks and actually know rather than worrying, because stress comes more from worrying than knowing.
I agree, and that's kind of that slippery slope fallacy where, and almost a kind of an arrogant approach is that, oh, they're not able to handle this information, so I'm going to just give this protective lie or whatever it is, and kind of approaching them with gloves and mitts, beating around the bush to making it worse. It's just prolonging it. So yeah, I mean, finding a good spot to commit, and I'm going to pull the Band-Aid here. I'm going to pull the plug on this. If they get to this point and haven't done it themselves.
Yeah,
So,
especially with things like Santa and the Tooth Fairy and all that there, because maybe so much not with God, because people will tell you He exists straight up until the day you die. But with the Tooth Fairy and things like that, there you're gonna find out, and dragging it out will just make the situation worse for the person that doesn't know. It'll just become more ingrained in their being, more ingrained in their knowledge, and the harder it will be for them to actually understand that when it does happen. You're gonna have to do it. Just fucking do it.
what about you though? Were you a cradle atheist, or was there a progression towards
no,
that? Or, I don't want to say progression, but was there a?
I left quite early. In around maybe 11 or so, I left the church. My mother was, I would call her now spiritually Christian. We were raised Presbyterian. And as the thing was done back in the 80s, you get married, you have kids, you go to church every Sunday. You have kids go to Sunday school every Sunday. And the Presbyterians are very, you're going to hell, Bible bashy sort of people. My mother, after a stage, came into one of the Sunday schools, seen that, didn't like it. And she took us then from the Presbyterians. But being still a Christian herself, wanted us to have a church on a Sunday. And from Northern Ireland, she always did promote, cross-cultural and being friends with everybody. Just because you're a Protestant doesn't mean you can't talk to the Catholics. And the Salvation Army as a church accepted everybody. So, plus they had a minibus that picked you up on a Sunday, so my ma didn't have to go to church anymore. Because according to her, God's everywhere, you don't need a building. So, she got to stay at home and get the house clean while the kids were away at Sunday school. And as I said, the bus came and picked us up. I went there for maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe more. Took it very serious. Was in training for a junior soldier. And then my mum and dad broke up and other stuff. And I sort of asked for a hug from God. I wanted to feel that everything was safe, everything was good. And I didn't get it. So over the next year or so, I just sort of felt and left the church then after that. And did the usual thing, anti-theism, then a wee bit of deism, and then... probably landed on agnosticism, atheism, sort of. Once you get older and you can realize and justify your positions rather than just feeling your way through things, then most people come to that stance at the end. It's a progression I see in a lot of people. You leave, you're angry, you're going to scream and shout, you're an anti-theist. Then you realize, there might be something because you've got your foundation from when you were growing up, and then you think about it, you look into it, you bit of philosophy, and then hopefully you make that final step out of what is now very fashionable spiritualism. But hopefully you can take that final step then and end up as where we are all now, hopefully.
Yeah, I think I was probably an anti, I almost said anti-Satanist because I'm thinking of Santa. Or a Mrs. Claus, or however you want to say it. Yeah, there was the anger, and then you wanted to go maybe to a lesser, I'm gonna chill with the elves now, or whatever it is. But you had a
because you have to knock them bricks out as you work away. If you've built a house up of lies, you knock the roof off, then the second floor's gone. You have to work your way down to the foundation and basically start again, and it can be difficult for people. And
then the thing you mentioned about not to make light of it, but I'm just it was very juicy what you said there about the hug, right? You wanted the hug. There, you had this negative thing going on.
I use the word hug now because I've tried to describe it before, and that's after using a few different descriptions and saying it a few different ways, that's what it comes across. It's not that I wanted God to say, yes, everything's going to be fine. It's not that I wanted him to lie to me. It's not that I wanted the parents to get back together again or anything like that. I just sort of lie, yeah. I just wanted that, the comfort to know that 6 months down the line, a year down the line, a certain amount of time down the line, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. Which is what we want from our friends when we're having a bad day. What we want from our partners when we're having a bad day. When things are down and you're feeling awful, you just want that person that you hope loves you as much as you love them. Not to bring that back up again, but you want that person to, the comfort that you feel with them, the safety that you feel with them, you know, the knowing that they have seen all of you, you know, and you can just be yourself and be comfortable. People apply that to God because God sees everything, but I would, you know, anybody who's sense realizes that the close people in your life can give that to you.
And yeah, we did a talk. You know, I would recommend it as one of our best talks. If you guys check out our page, it's called "Lost Loved Ones: What to Say." You know, and we talk about. I won't give away too much here, but we basically just talk about when somebody passes away, the checklist that, you know, maybe a humanist view would take as far as, you know, okay, this person's died, we love this person, we're going to remind ourselves why it is that we love this person, and then we're going to seek out maybe others that also felt this way, and then, you know, share maybe unique stories that I have that maybe you don't, and vice versa, and get through the grieving process together, right? And you actually get that physical hug, or you get that physical feeling.
Yeah.
Within the religion, what I notice is when somebody passes away, that's why I liked that when you said, you know, you wanted that quote unquote hug, is that they'll get that from the other humans, but then it'll be kind of glossed over that it's really more of this higher thing.
Yeah.
That this is the work of the deity that's making the grieving process so much better. And I think that just discredits the actual humans that in their emotions and their actual work that they're putting in towards, comforting you, you know. And there's a particular video that prompted me to make that video that I saw. And basically this guy, he's diagnosed with cancer in his early 20s, and he makes a time capsule video for his newborn child.
Yeah.
And in the video, he professes his love for a god and his religion, etc. And he kind of slips in there that he hopes that they would follow in those steps. And, you know, so you could probably see what the issue I took with that. And I'll leave it there for anyone to watch the video. But yeah, that's something I really wanted to take time and talk about is, me as an atheist, if I lose somebody, or a friend of mine or a family member, tells me someone that they've lost, you're kind of in this situation where, okay, how can I comfort this person? Obviously the person is gone. I can't bring them back. They can't listen to your stories or laugh at your jokes or any of these type of things. But I think the best thing that we can do is try to honor that person in our lives as far as what did we gain as far as positive, something positive that they've left behind. And then just, taking that into account and bringing that pragmatically into your life. That doesn't mean that you're going to have some shortened grieving process, like, because you have this checklist, you're going to get through this in 2 days versus the religious person that will take them longer. But I think that's more of an honest way to go about it. And a lot of people that don't have maybe those skills, maybe they can't be the rock for everyone else because they're also distraught. I just really see it being very an easy in for the religion to kind of say, okay, everybody calm down, we got this.
It's a very emotional thing. When you lose someone like that, the pain that you feel and the loss that you feel is dramatic, especially if it's a parent or a partner that you've spent so much of your life with, and not even that, you build up muscle memory. In the middle of the night when you're sleeping, you roll over and there's no pillow there, there's no person there. When you're making your dinner, you get so used to pouring out the same amount of spuds and things like that. And that's when you'll realize that you miss the person and feel the loss. And it's training yourself to get into a different routine, But it is such a hard thing that they're susceptible. And the religion does take advantage of them. And personally now, in this last 6 months, I've lost my auntie. My auntie passed away due to cancer. Didn't tell anyone. Up until the very, very end. She was a very proud woman. Didn't want anyone to know. Well, we knew that she was sick, but we didn't know that we didn't know that she had actually contracted cancer. She had other things that was wrong with her, and she didn't want anyone. And very, very quickly, within the last month, she just went right downhill. And the last she passed away on the Sunday. I think it was the Friday we were there, and me and my wee girl were there, and wee girl's mother were there, and we're up the stairs. The adults are up the stairs, and the adults are in the room. And she's in the bed. We've been told that she can hear us. She's lost maybe 7 stone, doesn't look like herself, wasting away. And everybody's very sad and grieving. And not that I'm not, but, I'm not an emotional mess. It's different way I work around my emotions. And we could hear the kids down the stairs, and there's only one parent down the stairs looking after everybody's kids. And we're in a big, massive room up the stairs. There's 3 double beds in it. I'm like, bring the fucking kids up the stairs. And a few people were like, why? And I was like, what do you think Norma would want? The last couple of days, like, she spent all her free time was with her grandkids. She's going to want her grandkids around. We had 3 or 4 of them on the bed beside her playing tic-tac-toe and paddywhack and all that, making loads of noise, and that's what she went out with. And it brought the room up as well. It made people happy. Yeah. There was people laughing and joking then. Then they were not talking about, oh, it's so sad, she's sick, she didn't tell anyone. Do you remember last year when Norma got that fucking drunk she fell off the table? And it's...
Right, exactly. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I'll share here. I don't mind sharing, but my mother passed away from cancer, right, in February 2012, and it was the same, similar thing. It was, more and more imminent. It was building to this. It was, becoming, and she was very religious. I believe she was Protestant, if I'm not mistaken, but she had a couple of distractions. We'll say, from my end of it, I was telling her to go to Cancer Treatment Centers of America or Mayo Clinic and things like this, and try to get the chemotherapy at the time or immunotherapy even. And her sister was in her ear, trying to tell her the opposite, basically, and trying to get her to go and clap her hands and sing songs and do these type of things. So in the light of that, it's okay, what is more comforting? If she's accepting that, okay, I am going to succumb to this, and it's her life. If she wants to clap hands and sing songs and be around her family members, versus going through a grueling chemotherapy process and things like this, I can't really force her to do it. But I did have the conversation with her a couple of times, and she did eventually stop going to the church, and was following her regimen. The cancer went away. Then she went into remission, I should say, and then it came back, and this happened a couple of times, and then she eventually did get the cancer at stage 4. And I just remember visiting with her, and she did tell me, at the end of the day, I don't want to die. That's basically what she said to me. I don't want to die. Mm-hmm. And now, I'm not going to say here that she gave up her religion at that moment or anything on her deathbed, but there wasn't any talk about that previous stuff. She was more focused on how are you doing and what's going on in your life.
That's it. And
the conversation was more about at the time, my wife now was my girlfriend, and we had just moved in together and stuff like that. We just got a beagle. So we're talking about our lives and what's positive and what's going on. There wasn't any overtone of God or religion or anything like this. And I thought that's the best I can do. I can give her these little updates. She's bedridden, so I'm coming in with the news and with the stories.
Yeah. And, what's happening in the real world. Give me some normality. If I wasn't lying here in the deathbed and we were having a cup of tea, what would you tell me? What would we be talking about?
Exactly. Some sense of normalcy. And to this day, I still think that was the best thing that I could do. Did it soften the blow? When I was actually, processing the fact that she had passed away, maybe like 15%, maybe 10%, but of course, but it's better than nothing, it's better than going in, and again, if anyone else is watching this that maybe is going through something like that, try to keep the positivity going, I might leave the house, had great jokes and stories, and feeling great, and then close the door and go to my car and just bawl my eyes out. She would never have to see that.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. Whenever we went to making a reference back to my auntie, whenever her father passed away a couple of years ago, well, a lot of years ago, he was Presbyterian, and the minister just spent maybe 10-15 minutes talking about my grandfather, and then the rest of the time was you're all going to hell. So my auntie in particular gave him a bollocking afterwards. And then when her mother passed away, which would be my nanny, she specifically went to the minister, who was the same fucking minister, and said to him, look, don't be fucking doing that you did last time. So he spent a good half an hour on my nanny and another half an hour, you're going to fucking hell. So whenever my auntie had passed away, she had made it explicitly clear, even though she was a religious person, she did not agree with, you know, the way that it was brought across in that. And we had a service, more so what would be like in America, in a funeral home. The body was moved to a funeral home. We had a service there with everybody that knows Norma, and she's, what, you know, was widely known. There was maybe 100 people there. It was a nice big service. Then we all got into the car, and she wanted to be cremated. So now, in Ireland, we have only Belfast and Dublin. Belfast had like a fucking 2-week-long waiting list. With Dublin, you could just drive there and get it done. So we drove to Dublin. But it was that moment that you're talking about with, it was only the small, minute amount of family, maybe 15 or 20 of us, you know, the sons, the daughters, and the grandkids. And we went down, we went to the service. Me and my auntie, we actually got shouted at by the person conducting it because we were laughing and joking about what Norma used to do and making a lot of noise as they're coming in with the dead body. It's like, shut up! Sorry, okay. You know, you want to raise you're muted. You've disappeared, Mike. You're muted.
Oh, I was just saying this. Yeah, thank you. I was just saying, you know, that's your coping mechanism. Everyone's going to grieve differently, and it shouldn't be looked at as disrespect or
yes.
Vice versa.
But after that service, the 15, 20 of us, we then went to like just a wee stop on the motorway, and it has a petrol station, it has a Subway, it has, you know, food and stuff, and we sat there for about 2 hours, and we all laughed and joked, and we all had that time that, you know, we all got to have that hug, especially my uncle, who was, you know, her husband, obviously not coping very well, and you know, we're all worried about him, and it was the time that we could all be there. And whenever I left to going up the road, he was laughing, he was joking, you know, obviously the mood had been lifted. It doesn't take away from the fact that he's had 3 kids and fucking 7 grandkids with this woman. You know, you're allowed to smile, you're allowed to laugh.
Yeah, that's another thing, is that I wanted to prepare my daughter for such a thing. You know, I can drive as safe as I think I'm going to drive, you know, and I can't control what other people are doing on the road. If they want to be drunk and text and, you know, at 1 PM and just completely, destroy me and my family, that could be awaiting down the road, you know. So I try to prepare her for this. And again, I know she's only 4. So what I did was we purchased a fish, and we got her to name the fish and, you know, be all excited about the fish, knowing that the lifespan of the fish is probably not very long. When the fish did eventually die, and no, this wasn't provoked. Yeah. Okay, this isn't some fucking no.
You waited till the experiment ran its natural course.
Yeah, it just, you know, the life of the fish was, you know, full and whatever. Okay, but yeah, the fish then, you know, ran its course and died. And Mr. Bubbles, I almost forgot the name. Yeah, Mr. Bubbles. We you know, she named it. Yeah. But yeah, when it died, she asked me why Mr. Bubbles is not moving. And that was the first time I used that word directly to her. I said, well, Mr. Bubbles died. And she's like, okay, well, how long until the dying is over?
You see what I'm saying? So then sleep, yeah.
And then that turned into explaining that Mr. Bubbles is going to not be the same anymore. This Mr. Bubbles is not like you and myself. We're not alive. You know, it's not alive anymore. I did a better job of this in 4-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, and then we removed the fish from the bowl. We took it outside in the backyard. I said, you know, pick a place to put Mr. Bubbles. And, you know, she pointed, and we put the fish there. And she said, what happens to Mr. Bubbles now? So I said, well, as far as we know, Mr. Bubbles will turn into the dirt. That's basically how I explained it. Yeah. He'll turn into, you know, the dirt. So then she looked around her feet and she said, you know, is all, you know, like basically is the ground that she's stepping on. All of this dead people. Yeah. Is this all fish? Like, is this all? And I just told her I don't know, but I said, you know, where we've put Mr. Bubbles is going to turn into dirt. And of course, maybe 10 minutes into that conversation, you know, she's a 4-year-old, so her subject changed, boom, boom, boom. Then she just out of the blue was like, are you going to die?
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, that was a hard conversation. I had to say, yes, eventually I am going to die. And then she was like, is mommy going to die? And it's like, yes, mommy is going to die. And then you can probably follow the logic here. And she basically was like, am I going to die? And I said, oh, not for a very long time, as far as I know, not for a very long time. But that was a Band-Aid pull. That, it's come full circle here. That was a Band-Aid pull. And if you're, as a parent, if you're afraid to have that conversation, you might want to insert, you're going to be on the big trampoline, or you're going to be, jumping in the big rain puddles, or whatever it is.
Yeah, whenever you said that, the first thing that came to my mind out of pure fucking habit, and I'm going to chastise myself for even thinking it, was the fishes went to a better place. That's the standard reaction that most parents would say to their kids when something like that has happened. They've moved on to a better place, which Gates equates with heaven and all that. But, that's still, it's in the back of my head. That was, that's the first thing I thought. Not that I would say that if you'd had planned out, and obviously you've laid down with it. But I can understand that. Like my wee girl at the minute now with the sea that's going on, me and her mother, we live apart, and I haven't seen her for a week and a half, coming up in 2 weeks now, and we've been doing video calls, and every single time I ring her, the first thing she asks is to see my dog. She doesn't even say, where's Pot? My wee dog's Pot. Where's Pot? Doesn't even say hello, Daddy. Honest to fuck, every single time, where's Pot? She loves my dog. Now, he's 16. I'd say there's maybe 4 or 5 years left in it. He's very, very fit for the age that he is. He's nice. Jack Russell Cross with a staff. He never needed anything wrong. He's a tank of a dog. But whenever he goes, that would be the perfect age, in my opinion, for her to get a dog. Because if you get at least, say, an average of 10 years out of a dog, she's going to experience death in around 11, 12, 13, which, obviously 4 is still a good stage with the fish and something. But the dog, they will have that attachment. It'll be her dog. She'll have respected it, looked after it, walked it, and it will be fucking difficult. But it's something that it is hard. But, nothing worthwhile is fucking easy. It really isn't.
Wow. Yeah, spot on, man. Spot on. Mathpig, man. You made a lot of good points. And, I don't want anyone here listening thinking I just gave this great, Oscar-winning speech, right when she asked me. I mean, I was not prepared for that. I was still just prepared for fish talk. I didn't think ahead that this was going to be an intrinsic, hey, what about me? I froze up, and I did have that. Let's go get your mom. Like I
go ask your mom.
I almost wanted to, but I almost said manned up, but I just basically spearheaded it and just went forward and said, yes, this is as far as we know, yes, you are going to eventually die. And then she said, if I can remember correctly, I think she asked me, is she going to turn into dirt too? And it's like, well, how long are we going to, dwell on this topic, right? So I'm trying to change the subject, but I didn't want to dodge. And I said, well, yeah, as far as we know, yes, that's what happens to us. As far as we know, I mean, so that's where I left it. I wasn't dogmatic. I mean, you can observe that, this is what we can observe to happen. And then that turned into patty cake, and then watching the Frozen, or whatever it was. Yeah,
the very short attention span when they're a wee girl, when they're young, which is good and bad at the same time. Especially if she falls down, my hill to the shop from where I live down to where we would go down to the river every weekend when she's here, we go down to the river. We spend an hour in the river at least, throwing stones, splashing. She fucking loves being outside. It's great crack, but the hill's very steep, and when she goes down and she would run, she'd fall over, and her mother would always be, oh, is she all right? I just turn around and I look at her usually, and she'll, rub her knee or something like that. I take off and run. That's what I usually do, because then I have the dog. She gets up and I shout, can you catch Daddy? She suddenly forgets that she's in pain. It's all of a sudden now a game, and away she goes after me. It doesn't matter. And I was changing her fucking trousers last week after coming back from the river. She did fucking scrape her knee, man. It's a good inch long. It was bleeding and everything. It doesn't. She didn't feel that. There's the instance of pain. Get up, come on, chase Daddy. It's a fucking game. Forget about it. Let's go. Whee!
Yeah, and is your what's your view on your child? If you don't mind sharing, anyway.
Oh no, of course, man, of course.
What's your view on your child's approach to religion or abstention from it, or?
Well, over here, I have had her mother too fully agree that she is on paper as a Catholic. that she was, whatever she, on the birth certificate and all that, she's down as a Catholic. The reason for that was her mother wanted her to go through the same sort of rituals as she would go through, you know, the christening, the confirmation and things like that. And I've had the conversation with her, and after a long talk, it's basically boiled down to, you know, my main family lives 300 mile away. We get to have everybody up, and it's, you know, it's a social gathering. It's nothing to do with the church at all. It is down to the social gathering, you know, of the gathering of getting people together to celebrate this, that and the other. But you need the formality of it. You have to be a Catholic to go to the Catholic Church and stuff like that. Now, personally, I have no problem with that, because I know, being my daughter and being around me, and, you know, I encourage her to ask questions. I encourage her to poke at things. She's always, you know, taking things apart and stuff like that. Even at the age of 3, trying to figure out how things work in the world outside. And, you know, I know that she'll be okay in the long run. You know, she may go through that stage where, you know, her mother maybe encourages this, that, or other over the time of the confirmation, and she gets into it or whatever that is. But I know in the long run that we're going to be okay.
Yeah, for my daughter, I mean, we've had the conversation, my wife and I. Yeah, we're open to it. You know, it's just like trying a food, you know, or trying whatever her favorite food is, or you know, if that's what she's into, then that's what she's into. Now, I've said before, and I just want to be absolutely clear about this, is, you know, if you believe that the clouds are made out of marshmallow, no, that's a benign thing. I mean, I don't care. It's a little sad that you believe that, but
yeah,
you know, whatever. But if you are an enemy of reason, whether that's, you know, being intellectually dishonest, or actually trying to entice other people into engaging in, you know, behavior that's detrimental to your own health, or harming others, then yeah, I'm going to oppose that. I'm going to have a very strong, visceral reaction to that, and that goes for anyone, including my daughter. No, so that I think that would be the line there. Is if my daughter is espousing that, you know, homosexuals or something need to be eradicated.
See, that is something that propped up quite recently here, is because she is on Catholic as paper, and the area that she lives in is mainly Catholic. So there's 4 Catholic schools and 1 mixed school. And if there's any Protestants live there or anyone else lives there, they obviously have to go to the mixed school. They can't go to the Catholic schools. So it put her down the line, if you know what I mean, you know, for acceptance for it. We did push for it. We put it down as our first choice, and we found out last month that she has been accepted, which is good. That means that she goes to a school that is run by the government, that is not run by the Catholic Church.
Oversight, yeah.
You know, and that's a very good thing to me. Obviously, I definitely don't want her to go to a Catholic church, because it's over here in Northern Ireland, you can't even teach in a Catholic school without a religious degree. You know, you must have a religious degree to teach in a Catholic. You may not never use it, but it's a small course. It's not a full-blown theology course. It is just a small wee thing, but you must learn it and adhere to it to teach in the Catholic schools, which I didn't want. So we did push for that. That's something that's outside of my control, is who teaches my wee girl, you know, what they get taught in the classroom, I mean. But who teaches her, I can control that, and I'm at least glad that she gets to go to the government secular run school rather than just an all-girl fucking Catholic school, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. That would be, and that would be an influence and experience that you couldn't take back, you know, once they've developed into their adulthood or whatever it is. I mean, that would be the lens that they'd be approaching their worldview through.
And even from anything that's non-educational, a lot of the Catholic schools over here segment as well between boys and girls. And I really don't think that whenever you're in adolescence, you should separate people, because it just makes the want or the desire to be, you know, around the other person. It makes it more taboo, especially if you're being taught from a Catholic school or a religious school telling you how awful it is. It's that awful you're not even allowed to go to school with the same person. Damn, you're going to want to meet up with the boyfriend or the girlfriend on the weekend and go out, you know. Right.
The whole idea of the sects, or even more colloquially, we could just say the gangs, the gang mentality of, it's divisive, to keep it simple. And then even coming into the home, if you differ in that sense, I could see that being a problem, or manifesting into a problem. Any advice for anyone who is currently religious that's watching this and coming out maybe to their folks? Like on my end, I was combating, butting heads with them
It all
pretty much
depends
every
on the
day.
situation. I'd say the only real, advice I could always give anyone is be honest. Try not to hold anything back. If you've made the decision to talk to them about it, regardless of what you think the outcome's going to be, if you've got to the point where you're going to talk to them about it, tell them it all. Holding things back that they're going to find out later, or trying to twist something to make it easier for them, in the long run will just bite you in the ass. You'll get caught in a lie, and it'll make you, and not to be selfish, but the whole atheist community, especially if they're fundamentalists, look like liars and fuckers and all the rest of it. It's, if you come to the point where you're going to talk to someone about it, be honest and be truthful, and just, tell them as much as you can.
Was there ever any one particular story in the Bible, let's say, or one particular argument, or just something that was a glaring thing that jumped out to you, that you said that kind of was maybe the cherry on top that helped to make it easier for you to
No, man, I can show you. I still have my Bible from the Sally Ann in the drawer beside me here, covered from head to toe from first to class stickers. Oh no, yeah. It was the moment of that loss, not getting the hug, that sent me down that field. I was going
Okay.
2 and 3 times on a Sunday. I was going to Bible classes during the week and youth hangouts with the 2 people in charge on a Friday night as well. I was full blown into it. Not that we ever denied evolution or anything like that. We always accepted it over here. It was never fundamentalist. It was just, God's great. Lovely. Great man, that guy.
Did you so you must have, I mean, just talking with you here, I mean, I can probably assume, I mean, when you're hearing about the Catholic Church, for example, and the scandal surrounding it, was any of that kind of bouncing around at that time, or that's something that happened further later down the line?
I myself, I'm Protestant, as I said, so there was no real, the Catholic.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the Catholic thing's always been known. It's always been a joke. When during the summer over here, I would sweat an awful lot, and I would find myself making a joke, and it's like, oh, I'm sweating like a priest in a Barney suit. That's always been known over here. But personally, from my experience reading, was it Pennsylvania when they found out about them 6 dioceses? I think there's 8 dioceses in total, and they did a check on 6 of them, and every single one of them come back to, with really bad, priests giving certain little boys special crosses. So when they moved or went places, that the other priests would know that they were susceptible. I tried to actually read the report, and as far as I got was maybe, I think it was the first page or the second page, and I seen something about they got a boy, put him naked on a cross. 2 priests, and molested him. It's bad. It's awful. People over here, I can't say that it doesn't happen over here. It does happen, but yourself, man, they turn a blind eye. It's something that they all say that's awful, but they won't leave their church over it. It's my priest doesn't do it. My priest doesn't do that. My guy that doesn't do that. It's that guy over there that does that. It's the same sort of idea. Oh, no one's ever this isn't going to happen to me. This isn't going to happen to me. But a lot of times it can be closer than home. I think it's within the last 30 years, they dug up a nunnery, a convent, and over 500 dead babies found buried in the back. That's where the wee girls used to go whenever they get knocked up, and the babies were not sent away to new homes. The babies were buried out the back. It's Catholic Church is a lot to explain for, but again, they just say, my priest didn't do that.
And you would think that if you're a part of a club that is supporting or trying to justify these types of things, even if you agree with any percentage or portion of what's being said or whatever the dictum is, it's like you could just create your own group. Me and Joe and Sally, we're all going to just leave and start anew, and we're going to chuck this stuff, and we're going to just cling to the things that we all agree on. And you see it all the time with all of the different denominations, like within Christianity. And I don't know, I'm not saying I'm advocating for like Catholicism 2.0 or something.
Man,
But
I see it all the time, right? And I've mentioned this to Mama, right? Mama Atheist in the chat there. She knows she's my woman. She's very important to me. I've got Dave in the back room here. Dave's one of my best friends, you know, and I'm honest with these people. And these are things that I maybe don't say sometimes on stream, right? But a lot of the community, it's not just Christians. It's not just this group of person. It's tribalism. And it boils down to who humans are as a species. We do like to find that 100 people that agree with us. We do like to find that little group of friends that are our echo chambers and all. It makes us feel comfortable. It makes us feel accepted as a person. And I like surrounding myself with people I disagree with. But what the point I'm trying to make is sometimes I see these things happening. And I've said to Dave and I've said to Amanda, it's an experiment to me. You know, like I know, I've seen a live stream happening with a certain person being talked about in it. And I'll deliberately go across and put that link, not give the link to the person, but drop it in a place that I know that they'll see it, just to see what'll happen. And then I'll sit back and I'll watch the chat, not even know that I'm there, watch the experiment go off and just watch human interaction, you know. And some people be friends, some people don't, but a lot of it boils down to tribalism and just finding our own wee group. And that's what we're trying to do with what we're hoping to go with the non-community, where we're going to be moving the after party now in about 5-10 minutes and bring a few other people in. We're going to go to the non-community. And it's something that me and Manda and Dave have been working on, maybe about a month, maybe actually longer. It was Manda's idea originally. And what we do here in the community, a few of us, is we try and help each other out. We shill our links, we post our things, and we try to introduce each other to other content creators like yourself. You know, you're on Facebook. I'm not going to do that. There's other people that's there. Hopefully we can get you a bit more on YouTube. I enjoy talking to you a lot. And, you know, other people like Justin, getting Justin into the community and trying to share everyone around, because as a group on the internet, we all agree with each other. But what good are you to help me in Northern Ireland? You know, what good am I to help you there? And if we can find all these content creators and all these people in these little small communities and make the dots on the internet and try and then make the dots in real life, we can try and actually make, you know, being cliche, the world a better place. A lot of people in charge, the MPs, the fucking politicians, they're all religious based. And as you have said at the very, very start, the whole point of what you're trying to do is to make people think better, to actually realize and use logic and get rid of fallacies. And with religion, that's ingrained from the foundation. So what we're trying to do there is bring everyone together, make the connections, try and, I don't know, fucking change the world, man. You know, it starts.
And one of those changes could be, I mean, we might get into a disagreement, or maybe you'll agree, but you know, I've thought about it for a while, and the more I think about it, the more I do lean towards it. It might come off bigoted, but I want to go ahead and put it out there. Do you think it is a good idea to maybe have the country? I mean, the country I live in is in the United States, but maybe even where you live, to have your country progress towards a church that you can only attend if you're 18, or you can attend if you're 21. Because just like you said, I mean, by the time I'm getting to that person, let's say we're talking about religion and not one of these other topics, that indoctrination process has already begun. So my work is ahead of me. You know, it's like that sibling that friend, mom and dad.
That they can't go to church till they're 18, you know, they're already at church at home if their parents are wanting them to go to church or anything like that, and it's so important.
Underage churching.
Yeah, underage churching, yeah. But I think that it may go so far as, like when I was growing up, drinking in Ireland is a thing. My mother introduced it to me, you know, well, not that she introduced it to me, but, you know, she was not, you can't do it. It was like, look, if you're going to do it, would you do a few, and would you do it up the stairs where I know you're fucking safe? You know, and it's introducing us to it. But with the Christians, that they really want you to learn, they'll go full blown. They would be buying you 6-packs and fucking vodka. You know, you see the difference that I'm trying to make. And I think it would go the opposite route to what you would be trying to achieve. I think the parents would force it down their throat more if they couldn't go to just a church. Like a lot of Christians don't go to church, man. You would just stop people going to church. I don't think it would get rid of the Christians.
It's anyway. There's probably a lot I could touch on with that, but I don't want to.
Well, we've got the after party, man. We've got the after party. I'm good as you're good. So what we'll do is, we'll bounce over to the after party. Dave's got the link in the chat. Don't forget, whenever you move over to the non-channel, do hit the subscribe button. Everybody give us a subscribe. The more people we can subscribe, the more people we can help and spread. And yeah, I did just say that drinking in Ireland is the thing, honey. Shut your mouth. It's okay. I'm
part Irish myself. Look at the last name.
Yeah. All the links are in the descriptions for Mike's Facebook, his Twitter, his YouTube channel. All are there. And yeah, I think that's about it. Don't forget to do the YouTube stuff here, and we will oink and out, everybody. Thank you very much for coming.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for listening.